Yes. So how has it changed? Well, that's interesting. Um, well, when I think about it, I've changed. I don't have as much hair as I used to. I don't have my Jerry curl like I used to have. Um, and before that, my big fro. And before that, I don't remember. But the first thing we have to understand is impermanence. So things are changing. We are changing. We are evolving. Of course, it's known that we are born. We're gonna die. But in the interim, we're gonna get old and we're gonna have illness. So how my teaching has changed is as I change and as everything else has changed. How can I sustain the essence of the teachings and this ever changing? I'd say we're changing at an accelerated rate right now, and that's verified by Thomas Friedman in his book Thank You for Being Late. He talks about Mother Nature, globalization, and technological change, and that is accelerating things at exponential speeds. Not to mention global warming and the whole injustice, racial injustice. There's a lot going on. So how my teachings have changed is they've evolved to meet things. So this is the amazing thing about the practice, especially I talk about the five superpowers because I feel like people put a lot of burden on mindfulness. That mindfulness is this cure all, and you just need mindfulness. Mindfulness is the heart of Buddhist meditation, but it's supported by right effort. It's supported by, obviously right view or insight. It's supported by right concentration. And so there's effort and concentration. There's insight and trust or faith, confidence. So those five superpowers, you might say, that's what I talk about in my book. They're operating all the time, and so the idea is what to actually understand that when we are reactive and if we don't have a practice, we're reacting to things. And so this process that we're engaged in creates space between stillness and response. And in that space, we get to pick and choose. But in this tradition, we talk about right speech, right action, right livelihood, right intention, right view, right intention, all of those things. So in that space, can we live according to that? So my teachings have evolved because if I'm practicing properly, then I'm creating this mirror mind that just observes what's in front of it. And based on what I observe, how do I make wise choices that lead more towards peace and understanding and love versus making choices that are the opposite? So when I go into a place like a prison, I have to just be present and be able to be with what is, know the truth, and the truth shall make me free, and then decide how I'm going to respond to that given the situation. So my teachings have changed, and a lot of it has to do with me changing because who I am or how I am being as a teacher is going to affect my teachings. And so it's my understanding and my belief that if you want to learn something, you teach it. And so you're teaching and learning. So even though I'm given, then the other thing is all that I give is given to me. So if I'm giving them bad dharma, I'm getting bad dharma back. If I'm giving them a clarity, compassion, love, understanding, then I'm getting that back. So my teaching is evolving to keep up with how I am changing my body, my age, the situations that I'm in. So it's changed to the degree that before I think I was teaching, and even though I would say, I'm teaching something because I want to learn it. As I get more and more into this, what has changed is those five factors, those five spiritual powers, or what I call the superpowers. They have changed. So as they change, my meditation has changed. So this is my teacher, my first teacher, Larry Rosenberg, said that you can really uh, notice whether your practice is getting better or not by the growth of those five superpowers. So I'm having more confidence. My confidence in some areas becomes conviction. I'm getting more wisdom, more understanding about, especially about myself first, and then how I interact. Just like the Satipatthana Sutta talks about internally and externally. So that's the teaching: is how am I observing my own experience and others' experience, and then understanding that as I continue to apply uh, these spiritual principles in all my affairs, not just when I'm teaching, but all the time, full time, 24/7, that they're going to grow. So right now, I mean, I've been doing this practice, especially because I was in recovery. I got into it because I was in recovery and I got clean and I had chronic pain. So I came by the way of chronic pain. And so I got into it, and 36 years and almost 5 months later, I have more enthusiasm and excitement about life than I ever had. So that's how my teaching has changed, because as I change, that's going to be reflected in my teaching. And it's a continuous process of evolution and getting deeper and deeper in terms of more concentration, more right effort, more insight about myself and about the universe, how things work. Um, and I talked about obviously mindfulness. So the mindfulness is something that what does it do? What does it do? It cultivates trust, insight, effort, concentration, but it also balances them. So it's about not only growing in those, because if I grow too much in insight and not enough in faith, then I'm going to be cynical. So my teaching has changed as I continue to evolve and change. And what's been exciting about the change also is that the media or the access to teachings is like never before. You have access to everything. Now the challenge becomes, how do you distinguish or discern what is appropriate and what's not? What's right effort versus effort? What's right mindfulness versus just mindfulness? And understanding that stuff. So my teaching has changed because I have to understand who the audience is and meet them where they are. So similar to what we're doing here, my teaching has changed based on who I'm teaching and how my own personal practice is going. And I would say the biggest thing is for me to keep the focus on myself. As I develop, so goes my teaching. So my teaching has changed from when I first started teaching, when I lived in a meditation center in Cambridge. Um, I would get all the requests from folks who would call the meditation center that wanted to learn about mindfulness or meditation, and I would go out and like a doctor, make house calls. I would go to, could be to a school, could be at a youth center, could be to a house of corrections, it could be anywhere. And I would go and I had to figure out how could I relate to them as they are and use a language where they could understand the essence of what I was teaching without them thinking that they were joining a cult or that I was swearing at them, because they don't know Pali. If I use Pali with them, they don't know if I'm swearing at them or blessing them. So I had to learn all of that. So my teaching has changed because, and the other thing is, I read a lot. So I read over a book a week for over those 36 years. So I have to read about things. I have to understand, well, if I'm going into prison, what do I need to learn? Now, part of it is I learned just by observing. Like Yogi Berra said, you can see a lot just by observing, right? A lot, part of it is that, but it's also this idea of wise reflecting on, okay, how did that go? What, if I had to do it over again, how could I make it better? Or what worked and how do I sustain that? So my teaching has changed because I have changed, and the whole thing is about me continuing to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, as well as physically. I don't have much control over that, but you understand, I still have the ability to strengthen conditioning, balance, rest, sleep, nutrition, those sorts of things. But it's taking care of myself and then being the message, I would just say. So being the teaching rather than kind of teaching. So it's changed quite a bit. And it also changed because of who I'm working with. So when we're working with athletes, when we're working with inmates, you don't have a lot of time, and you can't go in there and teach inside the prison like I would do at the meditation center or at the YMCA. It's just different. So I have to get a real clarity about, what am I doing? Who am I working with? And what's my intention? So it's the right, it's right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, right mindfulness. They're all sort of in the mix. And so depending on what you want to teach, for me, I teach the threefold training, which means it's not just mental development, but effort and mindfulness and concentration. It's also integrity and morality, not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, not to take intoxicants, not to engage in sexual misconduct or misconduct that's going to hurt others, non-harming. And then the right view, which, there's a lawfulness to the universe, and that, I have Buddha nature, and it's up to me to cultivate that, whether I call it Buddha nature or the masterpiece within. And there's teachings, and there's good friends and community of like-minded people where we could talk about, have appropriate conversations about how do we do this thing, can we be more present, how do we make sure that our teaching is evolving with how we evolve, and how our students or how our community that we live in is evolving. We have to keep up with that. I can't keep teaching what I was teaching in 1986. It's a totally different universe. So I have to keep evolving, but the thing is the same. The Buddha talks about do good, avoid evil, and purify the mind. But of course, I changed the mind to talk about the chitta, the heart, and the mind being connected, not being one or separate, but being one. So purify the mind. That's what I need to do. That make sense? Yes. Okay. Great question.